Meletsky wonders why due diligence wasn't carried out by the Social Security Commission with regard to handing over this money to Avid in the first place.
Is it correct to have sent Josiah to jail? Is it correct that only these people were found guilty of the alleged crimes? Prior to the Social Security Commission having decided to invest with little-known Avid Investments as it then was, there was a difference with Mr. Kandara and Mr. Sandman, in which a judicial inquest was held. Now, it emerged during that inquest, prior to the Social Security investment saga, that Avid and Mr. Kandara is a no-go, right? Against that backdrop, the Social Security Commission, a couple of months or few years thereafter, still decided to invest with the little-known Avid and Mr. Kandara. Now, the general public out there would say, yeah, but these people stole from Social Security Commission and they mismanaged funds for their own gain, which is probably correct, but we are missing the point. What about the trustees of the funds of the Social Security Commission? What about the board members who resolved to invest with the Social Security Commission? What about their fiduciary duties towards the general members of public? On what basis, given the backdrop of the difference that they had with Mr. Kandara and Avid, did the board decide to still go ahead and invest 30 million Namibian dollars, which is the equivalent of maybe $100 million today, back then in 2005? What happened to the principle of due diligence? Why is it that our judicial system, our justice delivery system, failed to bring those members to book and to make them account for having failed in their fiduciary duties towards the Social Security Commission and the general members who contributed towards this fund? If you are a member of a board or you are a director of a board and you decide your decisions should be based on the principle of due diligence, in simple terms, it means that you must be satisfied that the institution with which you are going to invest money is credible enough to handle funds that you know are derived from public coffers. Why is it that none of these directors were made to account?
This brought up even more questions.
Who compelled these directors, these directors of Social Security Commission, to resolve to invest with Avid? Was there an external force, a mysterious force, that compelled them to invest with Avid? And why is it that these inquests and judicial investigations failed to tell us who this mysterious force is? Some people are talking about 30 million. Others are talking about 60 million. What is at stake here? Are we trying to fool members of the public and say that yes, justice has been done? After 14 years, after so many years, justice has eventually been done? Let us be very careful about selective prosecution. You know, to make one person pay for the sins of others, or to make a few culprits account for the greater sins of others, does not amount to justice. It's a severe injustice. With respect to the High Court Judge, Mr. Liebenberg, who's a very competent judge, I have no problem with him. What I'm saying is, when you institute prosecution, the Prosecutor General's office is dominus litis. They are the ones that accuse and they put evidence before the judge. It's not for the judge to say, I want this and this and this. And it's on the basis of what the Prosecutor General's office decides that the court makes its eventual findings. The question that remains is it logical to simply say, yes, you took money from Social Security Commission and you invested it and you stole it, without asking and answering the question, how was this $30 million released by the Social Security Commission, and who instructed the Social Security Commission Board of Directors to release those funds into the hands of Avid? What about the principle of due diligence? Or is it a given that we have simple nincompoops as members of Board of Directors in charge in the Republic of Namibia, who simply don't give a damn about due diligence and the credibility of institutions in which they invest money? Another thing is, How come that almost $30 million was transferred from Social Security Commission to Avid's account, from Avid to Namango, and from there, just by the press of a button, almost $30 million went to South Africa? What about the Bank of Namibia? What role did they have to play? What about exchange regulations? I mean, look, this is a foreign jurisdiction. South Africa is a different dispensation altogether. How can you just by the press of a button send 30 million Namibian dollars across the Orange River? Was someone from the Bank of Namibia failed in executing their duties? Why? What is the purpose of the Bank of Namibia? What were the exchange regulations in place that the Bank of Namibia failed, or that Bank Windhoek failed to observe when they transferred these funds to South Africa? Imagine if these watchdogs had performed their duties in terms of the statutes that they derive powers from. The taxpayers' monies that was spent in recovering this money from South Africa, retrieving it from South Africa to here, the cost of litigation, which runs into millions, all of that would have been saved the Namibian taxpayer. All I'm asking is, has justice been done in this case? Are the real culprits working free? If you are a member, if you are a trustee, a member of board of directors, you cannot just resolve to invest money. Your duty in terms of the due diligence principle is to make sure and to double check, especially against the backdrop of the acrimonious relationship that they already had with Mr. Gandara and Mr. Sandman, names that emerged in a previous inquest that was held at the Social Security Commission offices. Still, they proceeded to invest $30 million with Avid, which raises the question to be answered. Who compelled the members of the Board of Directors of the Social Security Commission to resolve to that effect? What mysterious force was at play? And why is our justice delivery system scared to discover that mysterious force? You call that justice? I call it a gross miscarriage of justice.